Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and today I am happy to have Trivelle Simpson from the Drive Group on. Going to tell us about his journey in entrepreneurialism, if I ever can say that word properly, I can't, as well as what the Drive Group is all about. Trivelle, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, but most importantly, thank you for having maybe the best podcast host name of all time.
I do my best.
I have to arrive. We all feel better.
There you go.
There we go.
The drive in life is always to feel better, so why not with Phil Better himself?
Absolutely.
Trivelle, I want to thank you for being here. How about you give us a quick introduction? Let us know a bit about who you are and what you do, and what is the Drive Group?
Sure. Yeah, the Drive Group started out as a trading think tank. We did derivatives trading, which essentially is a percentage of a commodity or a stock, and you kind of leverage it for a return. Stock market. Kind of did that with a small team of people, developed enough capital where we got brave enough to do some real estate investment, some venture investment. And now I think we more exist in that space, the venture and real estate side of things, to try and generate a return. Always focused on team building and new opportunities with respect to our commodities background. That is how I would describe the Drive Group.
So what got you into deciding to trade derivatives? Because that's a specialized, like most people when they hear talk about the stock market, it's like, Apple, Google, or the penny stocks from like the Wolf of Wall Street. What was it about like derivatives? What made you want to go down that route?
I'd probably link it to three different things. The first was Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, starring Shia LaBeouf and Michael Douglas. I was addicted to that movie. Guys wearing nice suits. I had no idea what they were talking about, but the idea of this sort of Wall Street life, this fast money life, I think appealed to me. And this was around the time I was in school. I originally went to school to be a lawyer. Then I fell in love with politics, which was my initial major. I wanted to be a campaign manager, but I mean, that film and just this concept of industry really, really gripped me. Then I was at a New Year's Eve party with a guy who was popping champagne. I knew this guy from church. And I can tell you this, when he was at church, he couldn't afford the champagne. And it had only been a couple of years. So then we're now at this New Year's Eve party. And I mean, it looked like a rap video. The guy had his shirt open, 6-pack of abs. It was crazy. So I come up to him and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "I trade money. I manage my own financial portfolio." I said, "Hey man, take my number, give me a call." I think it was a combination of that sense of this Wall Street life, seeing it in its reality, but it was also this idea that I was coming to the end of my schooling. So for so long, I was a very obedient child. My entire identity was do what your parents say. My dad was a military man. So I always say that I only became an individual at 21 when I graduated. It was the last promise I made to my parents, right? I give them back my diploma and they say, "Okay, now what do you want to do?" So I'm sitting there. It's 2014. I'm 24, 3 years into attempts at my own individuality. And I tried my hand at being an artist. I was working at the banks. I was doing many things, but you come up against the reality that whatever you do got to pay you at some point. And I think it was just this beautiful intersection. So got addicted to it, fell into this course online called Baby Pips. And what I loved about derivatives trading is you didn't need big financial muscle to do it. You just needed knowledge. And I remember thinking, if the gap between where I am and where I can be tomorrow is what I can teach myself, then I like my chances.
Oh, I like that. And it's true. It's everything is now knowledge. As long as you have knowledge, you can end up making some money. When you decided that the point to move the Drive Group from more derivatives into the real estate, into that more looking venture capital type thing, what was that transition like? Like, when did you feel that you were ready for that, or were you ready for that transition?
Oh man, I wasn't ready. But I remember I wasn't ready at all. I was watching Moneyball, starring Brad Pitt, looking at Jonah Hill, and he says, "Adapt or die." And there's just such a real statement to me. If you're not changing, you're going to be stuck behind. And the thing is, I had hit the biggest trade of my career, 2017, right after Brexit. There was a confidence vote in the European Union. I couldn't even describe to you how much money I made. I mean, I won't say it out loud because here in Ontario we still have the CRA, and I'm not sure if I filed all the paperwork properly on that one. But that's funny. But the scary thing was realizing that this market is volatile. That the key is diversity. Why not be brave enough to go out and do something brick and mortar? So there was a desire to do real estate. We got involved in some other tech companies. I was in a huge kick at that time, reading sort of tech biographies and finding out what went on with Steve Jobs, finding out what went on with Elon Musk. And I remember just being so captivated. Like, Elon Musk wasn't the original founder of Tesla. It was two guys who came to him, and he was just the biggest investor, and then liked it so much that now he's the face of Tesla, right? But I was just, Dorsey stole Twitter. I mean, I was just really enamored with these sort of concepts of guys operating in the tech space. And this is around the time that, WeWork is coming out. You see Andrew Noonan, Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos, just all these rock star founders are kind of percolating and also gonna kind of fall to the wayside. And it just felt like, hey man, you got to take big swings. Let's get into real estate. Let's get into venture, and let's see if we can't, make a mark on history. Nobody talks about the guy who, sits behind the desk and trades all day. I mean, look, that guy might make money. They might know him at the country club, but nobody writes a book about that guy. People talk about Warren Buffett because of Coke, not because of the other 30 years of smart investments. It's because he went to his fund and said, I'll leverage the money you guys owe me to go invest in this sugar water thing, and I'll see you guys when it's $1 billion company. And he was right. That's the story. That's what people like. So, I think it was a bit of all that, where you kind of feel forced to move as opposed to ready to move. I'll give another one. I love movies, so you'll notice my references are very obscure. Transformers 2: Revenge of the Fallen. Optimus says to Sam Witwicky, "Destiny rarely calls upon us at a time of our choosing." And I feel like that's been true in business.
Oh, I love that. And those are both great points. Like the destiny rarely calls when we're ready, because no hero in any story is ready for the role they get thrust into. They just have to like you say, adapt or die, and become the person that they were saying they were looking to become or have to become because of the role. What do you see for yourself in the next, like, let's say 5 years? Because right now we're at a volatile state in the market. Unemployment's up. A lot of things are coming around. A lot of questions. Where do you see the Drive Group moving into?
I really like cybersecurity as a vertical. I think that as governments and private businesses push themselves to become a more digitized experience, the need to secure that experience is going to be much higher, right? So I think the cybersecurity vertical is huge. I also like biomedical. For the past 3 years, the largest biomedical companies in the world stopped investing in research and development. And all the top guys tried to make one thing: a COVID vaccine. We're coming out of that time now, and they need good product because people were still afflicted with new things. There's still a need to make more efficient our medical procedures and processes. There's going to be small companies that are going to start to get gobbled up to make up for the fact that for 3 years, these guys weren't able to innovate. And then the third thing that people aren't probably considering is startups. Unemployment being this high means that some very smart, very intelligent people are on the unemployment line, and a good chunk of them are going to say, you know what, forget it. Let me go build something. And you figure a guy who's been at Apple 10 years, a guy who's been at Amazon 15 years, a guy who's been at Tesla for a couple of years, a guy who's been at Twitter. These are smart people who are now put in a position where if they want to get paid, they better go make something. So now would probably be a good time to be a startup investor as well, because the talent pool, I think, is going to be so high.
I like how your mind is going with the tumultuous times, how it will be a great time for investors. And we could see the start of the next Warren Buffett, because he finds an individual finds a company to invest in that ends up becoming, the next Berkshire Hathaway or Coke or Apple. Because like most investors know, it's the long term where you make your big money, the compounding interest.
Absolutely.
I want to go over your career so far. Is there a moment that solidified why you do what you do, why you decided to start the Drive Group doing the derivatives? I know you spoke about the Brexit moment. It's a huge moment for, like, obviously in that role, but is there maybe like you were able to achieve something because of, working in the Drive Group or helping a client reach their goal?
This one's small. It's very small. It's very selfish. When I paid off my student loan.
Ooh.
I paid
That's
off my
not selfish.
student
A
loan.
lot of people can relate to that.
I remember, so I started trading when I was about 24. I started the Drive Group when I was around 25. And when I first started it, I was doing it part-time. You're kind of doing other things. I had very good paying jobs. I worked for, RBC, which is a top 5 bank. I worked for Genworth, which is the largest private mortgage insurance option in the world. I worked for Manulife. I worked for Davis and Henderson. I did some management work for Day & Ross, which is a huge logistics company. So I've been in management, some good places. And every time I'd get hired, you look at the succession chart where you say, okay, what's the next job I can get after this? And I didn't see a single company that looks like they were going to pay me enough to pay off my student loan in time. I didn't conceive of that. They'd help me make some contributions but could I pay the student loan and get a place and maintain the type of car I wanted and get a girlfriend and maybe travel a bit? I didn't see it in the cards. So it was humbling for me that the Drive Group as a company bought me my first place, bought me my first luxury car, and paid off my student loan. Those were for me the personal accomplishments where it's like, hey, this little idea that I came up with in my dad's house in the upstairs room that's no bigger than my college dorm room got big enough to do that for me. And I think I'd always be thankful to the business for that.
Oh, I love that. What tip do you have? So for someone who's like, let's say starting out super young, like paid off their due to their parents by doing the schooling, 21-year-old, looking to come in and start their own business, start doing something for themselves. What kind of tip do you have for them?
I'm going to give them a tip. I'm stealing this from Don Shield. I kid you not, I'm stealing it from Don Shield because they asked him this question about acting. I would say that it's going to be hard. It's going to make you feel like you're very broke. It's going to be tiresome. You're going to lose people. There's going to be some nights where you cry. There's going to be some nights where you want to quit. You're going to look at many, many other doors that seem like they'd be more fulfilling. You're going to look at many, many opportunities that seem like they'd be more rewarding. And if any of what I just said deterred you from wanting to do it, then don't do business. But if you heard every single one of the words I just said and still thought, forget this guy, I'm going for it, and I'll see you at the finish line because we're going to make it.
Ooh, oh my God. Words of wisdom, Trivelle. What is it like being a young, successful entrepreneur? Obviously, you're against the conventional entrepreneur type if we think about history. What is it like when you go into these meetings, when you're networking with other entrepreneurs that don't necessarily fit the overall thought?
Yeah. Everything in life is about common ground at some point. I think that we can have the same values but get there from a different place. So Toronto's the same spot on the map, whether you're coming from New York or Antarctica. It's just about getting to Toronto. I feel that way pretty strongly. So for me, I would say I don't know how it feels. I think that the feeling of wanting to belong never goes away. I think that the feeling of wanting to fit in never leaves you. I think the feeling of being humbled should never leave you. The feeling of being thankful for new favors should never leave you. Growing a Rolodex is always important. Giving people your time matters. And in that sort of core value, you see that even though your story is unconventional, we all have conventional methods, which is, be first, be honest, be hardworking, be on time, be apologetic, be humble. Because in any instance where you fail any one of those, then any one of the other qualities will help you cover it, right? So I haven't always been humble, but maybe I've been some of the other things to cover it, and maybe I haven't been some of the other things, but then I found a way to be humble. And I think that that's what the key is. I truly feel what I'm looking to maintain is an increase in knowledge, but not a decrease in wonder. The first time I had a client who's willing to give me any money to do what I thought was a good job for him, I was amazed, couldn't believe it. The checks might have gotten bigger, but I still want to feel that same sense of, man, I can't believe it. I'm gonna do right by you. Thank you for your leap of faith.
Oh, I love that. What is a book that you would recommend for someone starting not necessarily starting or trying to figure out to be an entrepreneur? They know they want to be an entrepreneur. They want that leg up. What is a book do you think that can help them get that leg up?
Give me a second. I have the exact book. I'm going to refer to it here. It's going to be a bit of a sideways reference. I will not kid you, but hopefully you'll understand why I selected it. I think that every business and every industry is different, and that the critical thing that anybody should want to know, should want to find, should want to lock into is who they are, lock into themselves, to drive themselves past the point of fatigue or pain, and really, how do I say, really give it a go. So I like books that teach you about yourself. Where's the title here? I just finished it. I actually just recommended it to somebody. Oh my goodness. I will not allow the moment to come and go. It's how ordinary people are doing the extraordinary. One second. People are doing extraordinary. There's other books I'm reading, but this one I thought was incredible. And it's from Dr. Jeffries. Okay. Almost there. Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. By Brian Martin. It's from back in 2012. What I like about it is it's a disciplined Bible on how to pull more out of yourself, which is the key. In business, what you're accepting is a life lived outside of your capacity. Because if you could foresee what your business would become, then it wouldn't be a leap of faith. To be an entrepreneur is to see more consistently and forever than the evidence suggests you should see. Thus, what you must master is an ability to pull more out of yourself than you thought possible, because you are consistently reaching beyond yourself. This is how I look at it. So for that reason, it's always things that are tricking the mind, that are expanding the mind, that are how do you give yourself the adrenaline to make that extra step again, to keep swinging regardless of the record. That is what I would recommend. So how ordinary people are doing the extraordinary would be my first recommendation.
I'm definitely going to be picking up that book. That just sounds awesome. And the way you're presenting it, it is true. You need to constantly push yourself to find yourself on the other side of fear, because that's where all the growth is. We are getting close to the end. I'm going to get the spark question of the show here. This is obviously from Seek Discomfort, because they believe that strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. So let's spark a conversation with them. What habit would you like to implement in order to better yourself?
I would like to more consistently take time for myself to appropriately recharge my batteries. Even just as simple, I love boxing, going to the boxing gym, riding a bike, but to put myself on the list of requirements for the day, so that everybody's still getting the best version of myself, as opposed to diluted version that comes when I don't put aside the time to recharge my batteries.
I love that. That is super important for people.
Yeah.
Trivelle, I'm going to jump off stage here. Please let my audience know where they can follow you, where they can connect with you, so that they could become a person that may work with the Drive Group, or at least have a mentor in someone like you. So the floor, sir, is yours.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you're able to pull something from what we shared here today. What I'd recommend is the Drive Group Inc. on Instagram, at the Drive Group Inc. Drive spelled the regular way, group spelled the regular way. and you'll see information on politics, pop culture. We have a great sort of content set breaking down the things that we're interested in. We're launching sort of news divisions, podcast divisions. So we're always looking for people who want to come in and be talented, but also people who probably want to have a different perspective on the world that they're living in. So all my focus, all my energy is always to recommend people to our Instagram page, The Drive Group Inc., at The Drive Group Inc. on Instagram. And if you can't remember that, then just go to our website, which is www.thedrivegroup.ca. Again, www.thedrivegroup.ca. Thank you guys so much.
Trivelle, thank you so much for being on the show today. Give me a second. My computer's going, there we go. Sorry about that. Trivelle, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom. I'm definitely going to be enjoying listening over because you left some really great quotes and wisdom in this episode that I like. I'm still processing some of it because they're so good, and I'm looking forward to reading that book, because if it had a huge impact in your life, I know it's going to have a even greater impact on mine. So thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below. That's where you're going to connect with Trivelle and as well as the Drive Group. I thank you all for listening, and remember to always invest in yourself.